Hello everyone, my name is Marco Landry, and if you've seen my channel before, you know that I've been doing a lot of work on my Yamaha R3. This is a 2018, and I've removed the fans on this bike because this is a track-only bike. So in order to keep the bike running cooler, I decided I would install one of these auxiliary Febur radiator. It's a mouthful to say, auxiliary Febur radiator. So I picked up this unit at the end of last summer. I never got a chance to install it. So I'm just about to start my track season. So I figured that before I get the bike ready for track season, I would install this, and after that I'll finish setting everything up. If that's something of interest to you, stay tuned and I'll get started right now to install this radiator. Okay, so welcome back folks. As I mentioned during the intro, the goal of this video is to document the process of installing this secondary or this auxiliary Febur radiator. So Febur is claiming that by installing this with the bigger surface and the bigger container, if you will, for the coolant, you will be able to reduce the temperature of your coolant by 6 to 15 degrees. So that's quite considerable. And by doing so, what happens that by having a lower operating temperature on your bike, you have less risk of losing power. This is the whole premise of doing this installation. And again, I don't have any fans on this, so that's why having this extra radiator will give me that peace of mind or that comfort of knowing that the bike will run lower, especially when you're stopping in the paddock or you're just about to get on the track. Sometimes you're sitting idle, it's really hot, it's really sunny, and the bike can overheat. So the reason why I'm doing this is really just to have that peace of mind and making sure that the bike will operate at optimal temperature. The price for this unit is between $700 and $800 US, depending on where you get it. They're fairly easy to order. Quite a few vendors have them online. I know that Norton Motorsport have them, and Spears Racing as well. The kit comes with different hoses. So it comes with two 90-degree hoses with one straight one. It also has these 90-degree, I believe they're aluminum pipes, and this will allow you to route the hoses and the coolant to the right location. On top of this, it comes with the various clamps for these hoses. Comes with some brackets as well to hold the radiator in place, and it also comes with a radiator cap as well. The only thing I didn't get in this package was an installation guide or installation document. Everything was relatively well packaged. And I know it's not super complex, but it would be nice to have a bit of an install guide, especially because these two pipes here, one of them has this drain area or this drain screw on top of it. So this one is normal, doesn't have any drain screw or bolt. So this one has one. So I just need to figure out where I'm going to put this. So it's not a big deal, but it would have been nice to have an installation guide to help with the process of installing this on the bike. I quickly look at these hoses, and they seem to be a bit too long, so I'll probably need to snip some of these, make them a bit shorter so that it will fit properly on the bike. And the other thing I would mention as well is that when I look on the website, these aluminum fittings or pipes were blue. These ones are black. Not a big deal, but if you're expecting everything to be blue, I've seen a few pictures online of people that add the brushed aluminum color. Mine are black, and there's also blue as well. So if you're trying to color coordinate everything, make sure that you ask that question before you order it to make sure that you get exactly what you're looking for. So having said that, I've already removed the bodywork from my bike, so it's going to be a lot easier to do. I've also drained the coolant from the bike. In my case, when I refill it, I'm not going to fill it with coolant because it's a track bike. So I usually use the Mocool coolant. in my case, it's getting really difficult to get more cool nowadays. I also have some water wetter, so if I don't have enough of the more cool, I have some water wetter inside, and I'll use the water wetter instead of this. So I'll cross that bridge when we get there. But these are the two options that I'm considering. The other thing that you need to consider as well is that my bodywork in my case is an aftermarket bodywork, and this will go right in front of the headers here. In order to make this work properly, I'll need to cut that bodywork here to make sure that the airflow and the wind can hit on that radiator to cool it down. So just keep this in mind as well. If you're going to do that install, make sure that you are aware that if you have raised fairings, in my case I have the shark skins, so I'll need to cut this off here to have optimal airflow in this area. Enough talking, let's get going on this. I'll reposition the camera. I'll be back in a few minutes and we'll start working on this. Okay, so this is a bit of a tight space here, so it's going to be a bit difficult to show you everything, but I'm going to take some pictures and I'll post the pictures over my voice when I'm talking about something that you can't see easily here. So the first step obviously is to make sure that you drain everything from the radiator. So you'll have to remove this screw here, or this bolt, and drain your coolant. When you do this, obviously you'll remove this bolt and you'll remove the cap. Everything will flow through. After that, you can move the bike a little bit, make sure that all the liquid is being pushed on this side of the bike, and to drain it properly. Once this is done, what you can do as well is remove this hose here. So this hose, if I zoom in a bit here, so this hose will be removed and will be replaced by some of the hose provided by Febur. We'll remove the bottom clamp and the top clamp, and this hose will be totally removed from there. So before doing this, I'm going to try to just pull this out and see if I can get some extra fluid out of here. So just make sure that you have a container to catch all this liquid. All right, so it was definitely empty here, so nothing to worry about this one here. Gonna remove the top clamp here. All right, so now that this is removed, I'll remove the two bolts here and we'll see how this secondary radiator will attach here. Okay, so now as you can see, I've repositioned the camera. I'm on the right side of the bike, and the bolt I need to remove is here. So I'm simply gonna cut these zip ties here and make sure I got some room to work. So this is a 10mm bolt here. So what I think that's going to happen here is that I've just removed that bolt and the washer. I believe that the secondary radiator will just go on top of this spacer or rubber washer here. So I'll remove the one on the other side and then we'll see how that's going to fit on there. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is going to try to see how this will fit here. So I remove both bolts on both sides, and it looks like it will just slide on top of that rubber bushing. It's a bit of a tight squeeze, so just be patient. And that looks fine. Let's see if we can bolt this in place. I'm not gonna tighten anything yet. I'm just gonna make sure it's snug, and then I'll reposition properly. All right, so we got one down. All right, so it fits quite well. Okay, so the next step here will be to attach the lower part of the radiator to the engine block. And to do so, you have two different brackets. You have a long one and a short one. And you have this bolt with this rubber spacer here. So the rubber spacer, I'm assuming, will just fit in there. And the bracket will be mounted on this bolt here and will attach to the radiator and will hold everything in place. So I'm going to try to insert this blue piece in the radiator first, and after that we will mount everything and position everything properly. I should probably have done this before mounting the radiator in place, but it shouldn't be too difficult. So what I did here is I simply remove the top part, or that spacer, and I'm gonna insert this blue piece of rubber in here. All right, so now I've mounted this blue piece of rubber in here, and I'm gonna try to figure out what's the best bracket to use to secure this in place. And obviously you don't want this to touch your header pipes. So I'm gonna take, I think, the longest one. And yeah, I think the longest one will probably be the best option here. So the first step I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove this bolt here. So this is a 10mm bolt here. So I'm gonna undo this. Okay, so I've re-secured this in place here. It's not super tight yet. Still has a bit of free play in it. And I was trying to figure out if it would go on top or underneath the blue spacer here, but the best fit here is underneath. And there's enough room between the radiator and the header pipes here. So what I'm going to do next is use the bolt that was provided and put the nut underneath. And again, I won't secure everything in place just yet. I want to make sure there's a bit of free place so I can move it around if needed. But that's how I was going to look on this side. I had to bend this just a little bit in order for this to work properly and go underneath. All right, so now that this is in place here, I'm not going to secure this just yet, this bolt and the one on the other side. Everything looks okay. There's plenty of space between the header pipes and that secondary radiator. So now that this is done, I'll move on the other side once more, and we will start fitting the rubber hoses, make sure that everything fits properly, and after that I'll secure everything in place. Okay, so it's a very cramped in here. I don't have a lot of room to work, but the next step will be to figure out how to route the hoses from the main radiator, the secondary one, and after that from the secondary radiator to the water pump. So there's going to be a bit of routing that needs to be done here, so I'll need to figure out what's the best way of doing this. Okay, so I had to switch my phone so that you guys could see this properly here, but this is how it's going to look like here. So this is the secondary radiator, and I'm going to take this 90-degree here, connect it here. It's connected to this aluminum tube here, that 90-degree as well. And I'm going to cut a small piece here, so I'm going to cut that much here so I can connect those two together. And after that, that secondary 90-degree that's connected to the water pump here is a bit too long, so you can see it goes a bit too high. So I'd like to have it just below this one here with a 90-degree like so, and then a small piece of tubing here as well. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to shorten this just a little bit so that that part will be lower, and that will come at this end here with a small piece here. This one is okay, it's the proper length. And then from ear to ear, that's probably the right length as well. I'm just gonna cut a little piece here to connect this, and I'll have two nice curves here, so the liquid can flow properly from the top to the bottom, and from the bottom a radiator or the secondary radiator to the water pump. Okay, so now I'm ready to cut this part here. So I have a brand new blade, so that should cut like butter. So I'm just gonna slice this slowly here, make sure it's a nice and straight cut. So if you struggle to put the clamp on the hose after it's been inserted on top of the metal tubing, these little clamps are pretty neat because you can unhook them, and once they're unhooked, they're easy to put back on, and then you simply push it back in place and you can reattach it. So definitely the best way to do this. If not, you will really struggle to insert this clamp on top of the tubing once it's inserted on top of the aluminum tubing. So definitely the easiest way of doing this process is to unclip it and then reclip it again, as opposed to trying to slide it on. So this is my last clamp here, and I had to do quite a bit of adjustments, but definitely worth the time investment to do this properly. And when you attach your clamps on the tubes, you want to make sure there's probably 1 or 2 millimeters of the hose outside of the clamp. So I'll show you in a minute what it looks like here, but this is definitely the best way of doing this, and you want to make sure that the hose is properly inserted on top of that metal tubing. So that definitely requires a bit of elbow grease in order to make this work. And when you screw these clamps as well, you want to make sure that the bolt of the clamp is not sticking out and will not be rubbing against your bodywork or another hose. So that's really important as well, that you do this properly. Okay, so the final result looks a bit like this. So you can see that I have the 90-degree connected the aluminum tube to a short stubby ear that connects the secondary radiator, and from the secondary we have the 90-degree that's connected to the aluminum tube that's connected to a shorty part here that's connected to the main radiator. And your drain area is here, and obviously it's loose, so I'll have to tighten this up. And there's another one on the other side as well, so we'll secure those properly, and after that I'll secure, or I'll finish tightening this this bolt and the one on the other side, and we can top it up after that with some fluid. So one thing worth mentioning here is that the OEM bolt that was holding the radiator in place is too short. So in the package from Febur, you'll have an extra Allen or X bolt, and it's slightly longer. So because you are adding a bit of thickness with this bracket here, you need to replace this bolt with the one that's provided from Febur. So that's what I did on this side. I'll replace the one on the other side, and after that I'll finish securing this bracket in place. Okay, so now everything is secured. The radiator is solid. I've attached, or I've secured properly the two bolts on both sides. I've secured the bracket on the other side as well. Now the next steps, I'm going to put my drain bolt and a new crush washer back in. And after that, we will be able to start pouring some coolant into the radiator. Okay, so now I'm going to start adding some coolant. This is a mix of deionized water with some Mocool. Just going to pour a little bit and see if everything's okay, if nothing's leaking, and then I'll keep topping it up after that. So everything seems to be okay, so we'll keep adding some more. So in this case, I'm mixing 5% of Mocool with the water. You can squeeze those hoses as well to push the liquid down. Always find that shaking the bike a little bit as well helps out. It just helps push some of the air out. Obviously, if it wasn't on the stand, I could tilt it on both sides, which I'll probably do a bit later. But for now, I just want to make sure that nothing is leaking. And just as a reference, I have about 2 liters of mix coolant in here. So it's going to give you an idea of how much it will require to fill this up. So far it looks like probably about a liter. Definitely helps when you are squeezing those hoses. It's definitely pushing the liquid in the second radiator and in the water pump as well, obviously. Okay, so I'm going to let it sit like this for a little bit, let the liquid go down, and hopefully the air will bubble up. And tomorrow I'll resume. I'll finish cutting the body work and I'll reassemble everything. But for now, I'm going to leave everything like this overnight and let the water or the liquid or the coolant sip through and make sure that everything is all right and nothing's leaking. And yeah, we'll resume tomorrow. So I'll see you shortly. All right, so welcome back, folks. So as you saw in the previous little clip, I've took the bike off the stand and I lean it on both sides to try to push the coolant in the different pockets to make sure there was no air left. And I probably use about a liter of coolant in the bike total. So my next step now is to cut off my my fairings. So in my case, I have raised fairings, and I need to cut off this part here so that the radiator can be exposed to the air when I'm riding. So in order to do so, I'm just going to take my Dremel with a cut-off disc, and I'm going to cut alongside the green masking tape here. I just put the tape there as a guide, and also if I have a brain fart and like I move, it's going to protect the body work as well. All right, so I got my sanding disc here, and don't forget your safety glasses, and we'll take a first stab at it. Okay, so as you can see here, the first pass is not very accurate, or neat. So now I'm just going to sand and grind a bit more so that it's a nice finish, and I'm closer to my the edge of the tape. So it's going to take me a few more minutes, but stay tuned and we'll finish this very quickly. Okay folks, so this is the final product here. So it's finally done. I'm happy overall. I think the installation process is fairly simple. You just need to cut the hoses at the right length, and then obviously you need to make sure that you can readjust your body work accordingly to make sure that the radiator has enough airflow going on it. And I think from a level of difficulty, it's probably kind of a medium difficulty level, just because you have to flush the coolant, you have to retop it again. And to retop the coolant, I had to flip the bike. Well, you saw me in the video, like I had to flip the bike on both sides, make sure that the coolant would just dissipate throughout the two radiators. And after that, I started the bike, let it run for a bit, and the level of liquid went down a bit, and I had to retop it again. But now it's full, and obviously before going on the track, I'm going to check again. And after my first session, I'll probably retop to make sure everything is fine. The only thing here is that my radiator guard for the OEM radiator is black. I might just take off the little protector here and paint it black at some point, but for now I don't really mind. I think it looks okay. So that's it for now. So if you have any questions, as usual, please feel free to connect with me or post your comments below. If the video was helpful, please do me a favor and smash that like button and subscribe if you wish. I haven't done a lot of videos recently, but I promise I'll start doing them again soon. And until then, stay safe, ride safe, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.